In this video, I'm going to be giving you 4 mental strategies that will give you the edge in any match, not only improving your performance, but turning losses into wins. Let's go.
Tip number 1 is controlling momentum, as every single match that you play is going to have its ups and downs. And usually the player that wins the match is the player that has the most control over those momentum swings. There are 2 steps to controlling momentum. Number 1 is actually recognizing where the momentum is, whether you have momentum and things are going your way, or whether your opponent has momentum and you're really struggling. This step is where most people go wrong, as I see players when they're playing after losing a couple of points, getting frustrated and rushing straight into the next one, creating a downward spiral. On the flip side, I see players that have momentum lose it quite quickly through getting complacent. So the first step is recognizing who has momentum. And the second step is then controlling time, which in turn controls momentum. What I mean by this is if the momentum is against you and you're struggling for whatever reason within the match, you want to try and take a little bit more time in between each point and at the changeover. As what this can do is it can help to settle you down, to give you time to breathe and think about the next point, rather than repeating the same mistake that you just made. But also, as a bonus, taking a little bit more time will actually stop your opponent from gaining too much rhythm. Now, we're not going to do this to the extent of hindering our opponent. Just taking a few more seconds can just give you that breathing space and time to think. However, on the flip side of this, if things are going your way, you want to take less time in between points. Not so much that you're rushing, but just to ride that wave of energy and wave of momentum. By keeping that energy high, it's going to help you to avoid getting complacent, which is such a big mistake that players make. Tip number 2 is to understand that nothing is permanent. If you're playing badly, it's not going to last forever. But on the flip side, if you're playing well, that's also not going to last forever. Now, just by understanding this can help you to realize that when things aren't going your way, stick with it. Just the act of staying in the point for a little bit longer can help you to feel your way back into the match, but also it gives your opponent a chance to make mistakes. Now, I'm not telling you to go into full defensive mode, but just try to make 1 or 2 more balls per point. You may be surprised at what you see at the other end of the court. As your opponent has the momentum, they're more likely to get complacent. Tip number 3 is to understand the compound effect. Every single point adds up, both physically and mentally. Now, when it comes to the physical effects of points, it's pretty obvious. A long point is going to make both of you feel more tired, a short point less so. But it's the mental effect that I want to talk to you about. Every single point, whether you win it or lose it, has a mental effect on both of you. If you win the point, you're going to feel slightly more confident. If you lose the point, you're probably going to feel slightly less confident. However, we are so hung up on how we feel, sometimes it's important to have a think about how our opponent feels at the other end. If you've just lost a really long point and your body language shows negativity, it's actually going to double the confidence that your opponent gets from that point. However, if you lose that really long point and shrug it off or even show positive body language, your opponent at the other end is not going to gain anywhere near as much confidence from it. And so in between points, take care of your body language, as it has a much more powerful effect than you think. And going back to the physical effects, when you're feeling tired on the court, rather than focusing on that yourself, take a look at your opponent at the other end, because the chances are they're going to feel just as tired. And just by knowing that can feed you with confidence. And tip number 4 comes from Brad Gilbert in his book, Winning Ugly. If you've read it, you'll know this one. And it's about getting complacent in matches, which tons of us do. It's actually really difficult to close out a match, which is why tons of players, when they go 5-1 or 5-2 up, let their opponent catch back up and get back into the set. And so if you're one of those players, this tip is going to be really valuable to you. When you're 5-2 up, flip the score in your head. Instead of thinking that you've just got 1 more game to win the match, pretend that you're behind. This way, it's not only going to change your level of focus, but it's also going to change your level of hunger to win that next game. I also like to do that after winning the first set, as I find that one of the most important games in the match is the first game in the second set, especially nowadays with championship tiebreaks for a 3rd set. And what I like to do if I've won the first set is just mentally pretend that I lost it. That's going to increase my focus and hunger to win that next game. So, before your next match, make note of those 4 tips. And just by prioritizing one of them, I'm sure you're gonna perform better and improve your results. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and drop a comment below if you've got any questions. Thanks as always. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.